Good evening. I'm going to talk about Lesson 5.7 and the lesson plans that you have available to us. Number one, it covers the basics. Okay, we're going to talk about college interviews, and the first thing recommended that I do is talk about mine and see what she thinks and see what's her plan. Being this is an asynchronous course as well as synchronous, the student will have the material available to her before this class so that the person can review the material and see what that they don't understand. I would recommend to her or him to find all vocabulary words and find the definitions and the translations in his or her language. And then I would go over them. We would go spelling, and then we'd go grammar, and we would go pronunciation. Maybe not in that order, but pronunciation and grammar for sure. That's the first thing we would do once we covered those. That's the first thing we would talk about. Once we would get to that part of the class. So then we would, throughout this class, I would be drilling this student with these words that they found, and also help her make some more sentences and then also have them translate them into her language so that he or she can understand it. And we will drill and we will drill and we will practice until they get it right. And there's at least 14 questions that are in this link that you gave me. And so we would go over each one and we would translate it into that student's language, and then we would do it in English. So for the next class, the how computers have impacted their life, first we would have a relaxed conversation about that subject. And then, being that, again, this is an asynchronous course, this student will have received the material beforehand so that they can prepare. And so we would go over any vocabulary words that came up, and then we would also go over the translations in his or her language, and then so that they can have a more clear idea as to what they want to say and what is being said. So then we would go over all these. Oh, yeah. And then we would play the video, and then he would or she would talk to me about those different subjects, about how life is different between digital and manual and or without digital, how we talk on the phone, how we send messages, how we entertain ourselves between between these two mediums of non-digital and digital. So now what I'm going to do is, after all this is done, we review and make sure that they understand everything until they do. Make sure and go over every bit of material that was covered so that they will leave ready. And I thank you for listening.